My dear brothers and sisters, over the years I have been offering canonical advice to so many religious, priests, and even bishops. One of the frequently discussed topic is concerning the required majority in elections, especially in the elections in the religious congregations and even in other parts of the church. The law of the church, CIC, Codex Iuris Canonici of 1983, describes elections in Canon 119, paragraph 2. First of all, we must understand that the law, the so-called universal law, which is given here, especially for the Latin Church, is only additional to what is already there in the statutes or the particular law or other general law. That's why this canon begins with the expression nisi iure vel statutis aliud caveatur, unless the law or statutes provides otherwise. This law may be universal or particular. You may have the law of your own congregation or religious institute or secular institute or society of apostolic life that is given in your constitutions. You are asked to follow it. If it doesn't provide for it, then you are supposed to follow the universal law, that is Canon 119. So the universal law is only supplementary, is only additional to what is given in your own proper law or particular law. We have to remember that. First of all, for any election, those who have the right to vote, all of them must be convoked. Sometimes deliberately some people are overlooked, or even forgetfully some are overlooked, means the election doesn't become invalid, but then the person who was overlooked can have recourse and then prove that he was overlooked, in which case the election may be cancelled. So, those who are in a position of responsibility must convoke all the members with the right to vote. Secondly, there must be a quorum. That means the required number to start any meeting or any election. The law says simply the majority should be present. Here, though the law doesn't say absolute majority right at the beginning, it says it afterwards. Majority means more than half of the total members must be present. That is the required quorum. Secondly, the universal law says that the person who gets absolute majority is considered as elected. Absolute majority. What is this absolute majority? Unfortunately, we often use the expression half plus one. My dear brothers and sisters, that is really misleading. Way back in 1912 already, the Holy See decided that it is not appropriate to define absolute majority as half plus one, because it may be suiting well for even numbers but not for odd numbers. See, for example, what is the absolute majority of 10? Half plus 1 will be fitting. Half is 5 plus 1 is 6. Okay. But then what is the absolute majority of 11? We cannot say half plus 1. Half is 5 and half for 11, and then plus 1 is 6 and half, and then we should not call 7 as the absolute majority of 11 naturally. So what is right way of defining or explaining absolute majority? Absolute majority is that number above 50%, more than half, is what is known as absolute majority. Say for example number 5. What is the absolute majority? Suppose you say half plus 1. For 5, half is 2 and half, plus 1 is 3 and half. We cannot have 3 and half. So immediately you will say 4 is half plus 1. Absolute majority is 4. No, it is absolutely wrong. The absolute majority of 5 is 3, more than 50%. 2 and half is 50%, and the next number is 3. So 3 is enough. Come on, go still below. What is the absolute majority of 3? You cannot say half plus 1. Half is 1 and half, plus 1 is 2 and half. So 3 is absolute majority of 3 is 3. No, not at all. Absolute majority of 3 is 2. Half is 1 and half, plus half is 2. Even a little child knows. It is sad that some who have even specialized in canon law do not understand this aspect of understanding absolute majority. Here in 119, the canon says what is decided by absolute majority, that person is considered elected. The general law of the church, or what is known as the universal law from the point of view of the Latin code, says if there are two inconclusive scrutinies, in the first ballot nobody gets absolute majority, in the second ballot also nobody gets absolute majority. In this case, the matter is to be decided by all means in the third ballot. How to decide in the third ballot? Two candidates who got the highest number of votes in the second ballot must be chosen. Suppose there is a tie in choosing two candidates. The one senior by age will get the preference. By all means, the matter has to be decided in the third ballot. In the third ballot, even the one who gets a relative majority is considered elected. This is already given in the authentic interpretation on 28th June 1990. No need of looking for an absolute majority in the third ballot. Third ballot, there are only two candidates. Certain congregations or religious institutes often say that for this decisive ballot, the two candidates should not vote. But then the general law of the church does not specify. If a particular congregation does not want the two candidates to vote, then you may follow the same. And then, what is the so-called simple majority? I would say better to call it as relative majority. That is more easily understandable. Suppose there are 4 persons whose names are there as persons getting some votes. One gets 5, another gets 6, another gets 7, another gets 8. So in this case, the one who has got 1 vote more than the others, the highest among the others, is considered to have got the requisite vote and he is declared elected. As you know, members of Legislative Assembly, members of Parliament, even if they get one vote more than the others, if all others get only 5 votes or 6 votes, the person who got 7 votes will be declared elected. This is called relative majority or simple majority. Sometimes some people confuse simple majority with absolute majority. In many cases, absolute majority is to be understood as more than 50%. For instance, a government at the state or at the center can be formed only with absolute majority. Sometimes the law requires 2/3 majority. It must be specified. For instance, effort is made in the initial stages to have or to secure 2/3 majority to elect the Pope. And with regard to the norms made by the Conference of Bishops, in accordance with Canon 455, 2/3 majority is required. Another important question we have to be conscious of is this: what is the total number from which we have to reckon the majority? Is it the total number of those with the deliberative voice, with the right to vote, or with the active voice, total members of the college? Sometimes that is required. For instance, Canon 455 requires 2/3 majority of those who belong to the conference with the active voice. That is exceptional. Sometimes majority is counted from the valid votes cast. Suppose there are 30 people, only 20 votes are cast, in which case majority is calculated from the valid votes. Sometimes majority is calculated from the total number of votes altogether, valid and invalid. Suppose there are 30 persons, 25 people vote and 5 are invalid votes, then the 5 also are included. Some people calculate the majority from the number 25. But then what is given in the universal law of the Church? In Canon 119 is this: what is generally to be followed now is this: the majority is to be reckoned from the total number who have come for the meeting and who are present in the hall. If some people abstain also, it doesn't matter. If some people cast invalid votes also, it doesn't matter. Suppose 30 are present in the hall, even though only 25 are voting, or even though only 20 are voting validly, the majority is to be reckoned only from 30 who have been present there. Those who belong to the conference may be 40. Those who belong to the college may be 40. Majority will not be calculated from 40. Majority will not be calculated from the 25 persons who are voting. Majority will not be calculated from 20 which are valid votes. Those who are present. People who don't understand it sometimes make mistakes. My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes, especially due to lack of understanding of absolute majority, some invalid actions take place, and since nobody challenges, they continue as though they have been lawfully elected. I recall in one religious congregation, for the provincial election, there were 21 delegates, or the electoral college are 21. Somebody told them, half plus 1 is needed. So they said half plus 1 is 10 and half plus 1, 11 and half, and then they were looking for 12 votes for the provincial to be elected. Already a particular person got 11 votes. He was never declared elected. It is unfortunate. He was the real provincial, but somebody else is continuing as provincial who later on got 12 votes. Let us not make mistakes with regard to majority, understanding of what is absolute majority, and calculating from which number you have to calculate majority. Thank you. Some kind of canonical updating will always do good, will prevent confusion, will establish justice, and will show us as transparent and honest persons. God bless you. Thank you.